afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our closing panel for the Geneva leg of Watches and Wonders. This is a CEO panel discussion, Adapting to a World. My name is Mimosa Spencer. I'm Senior Business News Editor at Women's Wear Daily. I'm hosting this panel live from the Women's Wear Daily office in Paris, which is just off of the Place de la Concorde. We're here to discuss some of the most pressing issues with leading CEOs in the watch sector. We have 4 brands represented today. Brian Duffy, the CEO of Watches of Switzerland, who should be joining us from his office in London on Oxford Street of a Watches of Switzerland store. We also have with us today Patrick Pruniaux, the CEO of Ulysse Nardin, which is part of Kering. We have Ricardo, Guadalupe, who heads Hublot and LVMH. And from Richemont, we have Rénier, the CEO of Jaeger-LeCoultre, and Chris Grainger-Herr of IW Schaffhausen. We're going to be discussing some of the pressing topics of the day. Most important, perhaps, as the closing panel of the Geneva event, we'll be setting the tone for discussions in the industry about what we've from this digital. Just as brands head to Shanghai for the in-person of the Watches and Wonders show. We'll talk about how watch labels have been adapting to the changes brought on by the pandemic, what has learned from these past months of disruption, how it's shifted or perhaps deepened, how are you meeting Chinese consumer turf, and how are you connecting with clients all over when it's impossible to meet absent. I'd like to start out with Patrick Pruniaux of Ulysse Nardin. Good afternoon, Patrick. Thank you for being here. Please start by telling us about your strategy and how it's been affected by the pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, good afternoon, Mimosa. A pleasure to be with you and also with my fellow CEOs. Well, actually, like all brands, we've been deeply impacted last year by the pandemic. But I think we all demonstrated the agility of not only each individual brands, but also the industry. And I think the Watch and Wonders digital the format it has over the last couple of days demonstrate very well how the industry is able to reinvent itself. And one seen as an industry very conservative and sometimes slow to react to some new trends. I think what has happened over the last 12 months is mind-blowing. I think it's only a demonstration of the ability of all companies and also some bodies like the FHH to react fast and to accelerate some of the deep also trends that are already underlying within the industry.
A bit about how you're engaging with clients.
Yeah, we actually, obviously with the pandemic, we engage. We used to engage only more personally. Today we have to engage both. Sometimes face to face, but obviously that does not happen very often. But we engage a lot digitally, and we also do it through our retailers. In the case of Ulysse Nardin, we have a limited footprint when it comes to direct to consumer, whether it's digital or brick and mortar. So we also leverage a lot the partnership with our multi-brand retailers, which are part of our strategy. And it's interesting to see how some of the consumer, the watch lovers are today a lot more open to some technologies and to some engagement that existed in the past, but today are probably much more acceptable from the end consumer. What's interesting is we've seen some end consumer like being very excited to discover some of our novelties, and we've done that already in spring last year, in 2020. And probably a couple of months earlier, they would have seen it like being, hey, I don't touch the product, I don't see it, that's not really what I want as a luxury experience. And a few months later, it became completely acceptable and almost exciting. Now I think it's down to us as a brand and also as a brand to make sure we create the level of desirability through the engagement with the end consumer, like the same that does exist in a product itself.
Mm-hmm. Can you talk a little bit about what you've been doing in China where you can have physical events?
Yeah, we obviously, in China, it's interesting what you mentioned because we are ending up now the Watch and Wonder digital, and we're about to start Watch and Wonders physical in China. I mean, I won't be there. It's going to be our great local Chinese team who's going to be engaging with end consumers and retailers. But we are in China. I think we're all brands, but Ulysse Nardin in particular. We're very prompt to react and find ways to have a conversation, sometime by appointment, with the end consumer. And I think the appetite for luxury is obviously known by everyone on the Chinese market. But today we see also a growing interest for, especially sometimes more one-to-one conversation that we didn't have that much in the past.
How interesting. Thank you, Patrick. I'd like to turn to Catherine Rénier, this of Jaeger-LeCoultre, who's patching in from Geneva, holding down the fort there, for those who can't be there. Thank you for joining us. I'm really interested in hearing about how you're connecting with consumers and warranty program has helped Play-Doh with this during the pandemic.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mimosa. Good afternoon, everyone. Well, as you mentioned, indeed, we introduced an extension of our warranty from 2 to 8 years in 2019. And really this, as we call it, care program, was a chance for us to actually start the relationship with our client at the moment of purchase, rather than that being the end of a process. And indeed, this relationship means that the client enters in the Jaeger-LeCoultre community. They are given behind the scene, they're given live information about the whole world of Jaeger-LeCoultre as it happens. This came as, of course, a perfect platform for us to keep in touch with our clients, to keep them informed in the last 12 months during this pandemic, when unfortunately our stores worldwide were closed. And really this one-on-one relationship and this ability to have this direct contact was the perfect way to stay in touch.
And now you're heading to Shanghai, as well as Ulysse Nardin, the brand LeCoultre. Can you talk about how you're dealing with Chinese consumers and what you have planned for that event?
It is, as you know, the second edition of the Watches and Wonders in Shanghai. We have the chance to be able to host a physical event there, so it will be the perfect continuity of the fantastic digital week that we all had for the last 7 days. The digital event, the Watches and Wonders in Shanghai actually opens tomorrow morning as we close the digital event tonight. So it's a non-stop for all of us and for the teams, and that keeps the momentum going. In fact, for us, it's going to be the chance to reveal again a Reverso to celebrate really this 2021 year for Reverso. Actually, I have with me, and maybe the cameraman can zoom if he can manage. I have the one we will reveal at 6 o'clock tonight, and that will be presented really as a world premiere tomorrow in Shanghai. So you see the creativity and the reveal continues up to definitely Shanghai tomorrow. It's a world premiere and a physical moment presentation of the piece in Shanghai. This will be coming together with something that really was also a great project for us in the last year, the presentation, worldwide presentation of a collaboration with Michael Murphy, the American artist, that has created an anamorphosis of this Reverso tribute 90th I just showed you. So there will be a lot of excitement as well in this event in Watches and Wonders in Shanghai. The fun continues.
Thank you, Catherine. It's quite interesting to see how a lot of European brands are doing global launches from China these days. We're not as well in the fashion industry. I'd like to turn to Ricardo Guadalupe from his office at the Hublot headquarters. It's great to see you. Your brand has been in China for quite a while, and you have quite quite a bit in that market. Can you talk about your strategy in China these days?
Hello, everyone. Yes, China has become really a key market for Hublot. We entered in China, it was in 2008, where we opened our first standalone boutique. And of course, at the beginning, we had to do this brand building, to build this brand awareness that was really necessary to talk to these Chinese consumers. And as you know, Hublot is quite a young brand. We're only 40 years old. Last year, we had our celebration of 40 years. And we talk to the young generation, and we're able to talk with a physical presence. So we have now 9 standalone boutiques. So we decided to go by ourselves with directly operated store. And we're opening this year 3 more boutiques. So we will have 12 boutiques. And I must say that the results are amazing. So for the first quarter, the growth is not double digit, but even triple digit. But compared to last year, where last year China was in the lockdown, they really had the first impact of the pandemic. But of course, now they are back. Even Macau is doing very well, where we have 6 boutiques, and Hong Kong a bit more difficult, as we know, because they're facing other issues that only the pandemic. So in China, we do a lot in digital as well. So we have a strong, we're working with WeChat, this platform, where also we decided to go on e-commerce, not with our website, but with the WeChat platform. And we have seen some great results we have done some launches, specific launches dedicated to China as well, with limited editions. Like last month, we did 28 pieces of a watch in carbon, and it was sold in a few hours immediately. So we're seeing also a lot of impact digitally, and we can really engage with those consumers that are buying online as well after with our physical boutique. So it's really an equilibrium between digital and physical.
How interesting. Now, before the pandemic, I recall you traveling extensively. It seemed like you were hosting events all over the world all the time. Can you talk about how you're connecting with clients without being able to see them in person?
Yeah, that's right. Hublot is really a brand who does a lot of physical events, and since 1 year it has been quite difficult. So we had to reinvent ourselves, and we're doing quite some digital events. Of course, we cannot do the same level and size of digital events. So we're really organizing that more locally with our boutiques, with a few customers. And we have been also decided to open our e-commerce site in June last year, and we have seen quite some good success as well with online sales globally. But this digital platform, this website helps us also to connect with our customers, with our prospect, and sometimes we can also transform this first contact that we have digitally in a physical approach, and after do the sale in one of our boutique or retailer. And the other thing is really working more local than global. So we have really worked a lot with our CRM, with our network, with our community, which is called the Hublotista, and every boutique is really working closely with the digital platforms like social media and Instagram in particular. And we have tried also to be very strong with our Instagram account, and we have over 5 million followers. And of course, there I would say the content is a big challenge. We have become content producer, where we must bring incredible videos and photos as well.
Okay, so a little bit less jumping. I wanted to turn now to our last watch label before we talk to our Chris Grainger-Herr of IWC Schaffhausen. You're joining from the headquarters in Schaffhausen, where the brand's American founder first set up shop in the mid-19th century, I believe. Thank you for joining us. Can you tell us how you've been adapting your business during this pandemic?
Yes, thank you very much. Great to join you on this panel, and thank you to my colleagues for their insights. For us, it's been a similar journey. First of all, we had to deal with the health and safety of all of our clients, our colleagues, our staff, of course, here in the manufacturer and in our stores beyond. And then it's really gone into a rapid flurry of innovation. It's been quite sensational to see how quickly this emotional experience that is physical product and personal contact has been digitalized over the last year. And all these underlying trends, as some of my colleagues have already mentioned, have really accelerated hugely in a space of 3 months. So this really goes from virtual boutique experiences to the whole power of AR try-on, now culminating in our app launch just a week ago, where you now have a full try-on feature for IWC watches in AR, to all of the watchmaking loops, the so-called cyber loop that's been patented, that's streaming the image from inside a watch movement to any device globally on the screen. We see that also at Watches and Wonders in Shanghai, where we're able to give our Chinese clients guided tours through the watch movements directly here at the manufacturer in Schaffhausen. And then to many of the digital initiatives that we've seen in China, including the launch of our Tmall Pavilion flagship store last year, which had its grand opening a little bit later in the year, where we had a complete digital and physical format of opening with a whole program around it, including in the end a live streamed and digital experience of a drone ballet above the river in Shanghai with special reserved areas for people who entered the competition and so on. So it's been a huge amount of creativity that's unfolded over the last year. And even despite all of this digital component, we also opened our first actual immersive storytelling flagship store here in Zurich, and COVID regulations permitting, as soon as this was able to open again to a certain capacity, we saw a stronger return of people than ever before to come to the physical store experience, to also extend what they had already seen online in a one-to-one immersive experience with our colleagues, where we give a wholly different access to our story, our manufacturing history, all of the technical elements of IWC, and you're really immersing yourself into the story of the IWC Classic Racing team with that David Coulthard 300 SL as a centerpiece, which is incidentally also the VR experience where you can drive one of our racetracks at the helm of this iconic Mercedes. So we've seen really an outburst of creativity, a quick adaptation to all of the new digital formats, and I'm really impressed to see how much clients are still longing for connecting personally on video and also really having this emotional experience that is all around mechanical watchmaking in a time like the pandemic.
Beef up your technical team to create content.
Sorry, can you say again? Pardon?
Have you had to beef up your technical teams in order to create all this content? That sounds like very high-tech content you're producing.
Well, yes. Definitely. I mean, luckily, we had a lot of very tech-savvy people here at IWC who were raring to go. And of course, we have a number of partners that we've been working with for a long time from the industry. We've seen just the latest innovation. This morning, we launched our hologram live streaming technology in China for the opening moments of Watches and Wonders that will come over the next couple of days. And this was actually generated from an internal ideas competition a little bit earlier in the year. It started off as a crazy idea. We've then worked with the supplier in LA on bringing the technology to life. Now we've transferred all of this technology to China, and we could see that even the hologram live streaming of presentations live from here in Schaffhausen in a hologram form to Shanghai already works now. And this is just 3-4 months after this idea originally came about. So I think there's a really great appetite, both internally and with our partners at the moment, to get these things off the ground and get them up and running quickly.
How interesting. Thank you for that. And now to London, where we will hear from Brian Duffy of Switzerland. Nice to see you. We've heard a lot from the watch labels. Now I'd like to hear a retail tip. How has Watches of Switzerland been adapting to these pandemic times?
Hello, everyone, and thanks for the invitation to join this panel. Great to see 4 of our great brand partners on the panel with me here. It's nice to be joining you from London, because yesterday was the day that our stores finally reopened. We've been more or less closed from Christmas time, and actually here in the UK we've had half of the year our stores have been closed. And in the US, although the stores have been open for longer, we've been dealing with huge reductions in traffic. Few people visiting Vegas, few people working or visiting Manhattan, And in Florida, things a bit better, Florida, Georgia, but still significant reductions in traffic. So how we've had to adapt is doing a lot of what you've heard already. I mean, the great thing is we knew there was a great demand for the wonderful products that we sell, but our stores were closed, so we had to find ways of communicating with our clients. We have a wonderful CRM system. It really became hugely important. We can interrogate the history of client purchasing and so on. That directs us to what, towards marketing and information we can provide to them, and then our great sales colleagues can follow up. We've done everything remote, either small, even one-to-one remote product presentations, or small intimate gatherings of dinners and so on when we present products, or in some cases we had hundreds of clients on when we did full product presentations. We stepped up all of our digital activity, our digital marketing overall. I mean, the numbers that we achieve in digital marketing are just outrageous. We're talking about billions of impressions in the UK and US when we add up social media and digital advertising and online activity. Digital and social generally, we find there's a really great audience out there. People love watches. People love luxury Swiss watches. And they love the stories and the heritage and the excitement and the adventure and the technicalities of the products and materials. So we know, for example, from Google, where we're very active with Google and YouTube, that our adverts are actually watched quite intensely. They score very, very high in terms of watch and click-through statistics and so on. It just shows the great interest there is in the category. We did a lot of other, social activities. I mean, literally this week with Watches and Wonders, for example, we had a great interview in our Soho store in New York with Bethany Frankel, who really knows her watches. She was interviewed by our director of client relations, Kelly Yorks, and obviously that gets great coverage and attention on social media. We've been doing a lot more business by appointment. We've been in the periods where our stores have been opened between lockdowns, almost half of the business is getting done by appointment, with clearly very, very high levels of conversion through appointment. And we implemented a luxury concierge. We took sales teams that were unable to work at the airports. We brought them in-house into here in London. We fully equipped them with all of what they needed, and they're now providing a great expert advice and help to the very many people that are researching online. And I think it's not been ideal for any of us, but actually there's some definite benefits. I think the appeal and the communication of watches to a younger, broader audience out there with the attention on digital has definitely been a benefit. And I think there are positive times ahead.
And you've a lot of customer engagement yourself, haven't you, with podcasts and that sort of thing? Can you tell how you're generating content?
Yes, well, we do, again, in-house, and we do find we get great materials provided by all of our brand partners, such as we have here. But we do find that doing things a little different definitely gets good attention online. We do think there's a real, as I mentioned earlier, a real willing audience to learn about watches. And so personally, I love to talk about the wonderful history of the brands and the heritage and how interpreted today and the wonderful products that we see. So yes, I do podcasts. I've done Instagram interviews with everybody that's here on your panel, and some occasions more than one. And my colleagues do other social media activities. We have a lot of activity happening in the US. And it's a new skill that I think we've all had to learn as to how to communicate with this broad digital audience. And I must say again, the 4 partners that you have on here do it extremely well.
That's good to hear. And what have you seen in these past 24 hours of open stores in London? Any updates on what the scene is like there?
It's very, very positive. There's an explosion of, I think, goodwill. There's an accumulation of unspent, monies, as we know, unspent savings. But beyond that, there's just a great feeling in the UK that we really are, at the end, hopefully, of lockdowns. Probably the most exciting thing is that pubs have opened rather than shops. So a bit of normal life is happening. People are shopping, and then they can go to the pub at the end of it and discuss what they've bought. It was a great day yesterday. It was like a very good Saturday in December, and it was a Monday, so a great day. There's been queues at some of our stores on directly opposite Selfridges. There's been queues there at various times. Very, very positive. We've done very, very well with the whole digital remote interaction. Our business has been strong, but nothing substitutes just getting face to face. And even the watch fairs that we've been doing remotely, we've all enjoyed them, but it's not a substitute for actually trying on a product and seeing our friends and partners here. And the same again in retail. People want to come in, they want to get the advice, they want to build the trust, they want to try on the product that there's no substitute for. We've never had as many appointments as we have today. We have more than 6,000 appointments, and the appointments are getting added to as we speak. So I think there's going to be a very, very positive period and hopefully a very quick recovery of retail in the UK.
Oh, how interesting. It's nice to hear. Our last burning question that I think a lot of people will be really curious to hear your insight about following this Geneva show is I'm curious to hear what have you all learned over this past week? Why don't we start with Brian?
I've had confirmed over the last week, what a great industry this is, because there's been tremendous resourcefulness, tremendous response, energy, whether it's on new products, whether it's on marketing, whether it's on creative ways of communicating, as we've been discussing. I think a lot from a trend standpoint, it's a continuation of a lot of the trends that we saw. Probably more activity around dials and bracelets and some new materials. Overall, I think a definite step up in the awareness and the response to the whole eco subject overall, which I think is a very, very important one today. And the industry, again, is woken up to that. So my big takeaway is just, what a great industry Swiss Watches is, and that we're very, very lucky to represent it.
Thank you so much. Chris, sir, can you tell us some of the insight you've gleaned from tense weeks of meetings?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think it's a fantastic period for buyers, clients, and lovers of mechanical watches, because I think I cannot, over the past 15, 20 years, think of any other time when there was so much technical content, functionality, precision available, and such a range of creative expressions as well. And today, whether it's about sort of extreme creations, extreme technical talking pieces, to really animations, especially in the sports watch segment, with new colors, with new functionality, bracelets, as Brian's already mentioned. But even at a first-time buyer's price point, nowadays, the content in terms of watch movements, precision, anti-magnetism, waterproofing, case technology, all of those things that you can buy at every single price point, made here in the heart of Switzerland by an industry with hundreds of years of tradition, but lots and lots of energy today, is sensational. And I think Watches and Wonders this year has really been this sort of explosion of imagination and creativity that people are waiting for now to hopefully really enjoy the recovery post-pandemic going forward.
Thank you. And about Ricardo from Hublot, is there anything with our viewers about what you learned over these past few days?
Yes, we have been really happy, even proud, to participate for the first time to this Watches and Wonders digital edition this time. And we hope that next year, if it's going to be physical, we'll be also part of this incredible event, very important for the Swiss watch industry, gathering most of the best brands of our industry. And we have learned that in a digital way, we can still work, we can still talk about our innovations, about our new products to the press, to our retailers, to our some final customers, providing an incredible content, incredible videos in which we go in deep explaining our innovation in materials like sapphire, in movements. And yeah, we learned that digitally it's possible to do a very qualitative event, and but we hope that a physical event will happen next year.
Thank you very much. Catherine Rénier of Jaeger-LeCoultre, what have you learned?
Personally, I've learned that all my expertise on jet lags and flying around the world is definitely not useful anymore. You know, you need video camera diplomas and microphone mastery. So, but anyway, you know, putting a joke aside, more seriously, it was really a special year for us because it's the first time we presented our high watchmaking, an Ibris Mechanica, and not having a physical event to do so. The last one we presented was in 2019, and 2 years later, here we are doing this presentation totally digital. Needless to say, it was a bit of a headache on how we would get the beauty, the technical prowess of this piece through. And honestly, we've learned that when you have the proper creativity, innovation, the content and the way we've managed to convey the message is, I would say, bigger, wider, and stronger than ever. We have a fantastic 20-minute video on this one piece that continues to really bring a lot of attention on YouTube and all the platforms. And really, this was a fantastic learning for us on how much we can convey a message and how much we can reach out with a totally digital presentation of a very high-end complication. It's the most complex reverso timepiece we have ever made. So a great achievement from the team, from the manufacturer, and we're delighted about the week that is just closing tonight.
Thank you, Catherine. And to close, Patrick Pruniaux, do you want to share your thoughts with us?
More of learning from this week. I mean, my colleagues have been talking about the product themselves, and we know the industry is able to be extremely creative when it comes to products. No surprise. What I can see now is like the beauty contest between all the brands to be super creative when it comes to content creation and almost building the channel. Whatever you do in digital, Chris was referring to the hologram, which is a brilliant idea. Like everyone is doing something, which is bringing more opportunities to talk about this industry. And I think everything we learned, and Brian mentioned also with Watch of Switzerland is probably one of the most dynamic by far retailer in the world. And all the initiatives being taken by the industry, retailers, brands, etc., are here to stay. And overall, the sum of all of that, plus what we were doing in the past, will, I think, increase the reach of the brands and of the industry, and at the end of the day, sort of create more excitement for a larger number of people. And I think this is going to grow this industry further. I'm super optimistic about the next couple of years because of the crisis we went through and how we reacted collectively.
Well, that's so interesting. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, everyone, for this discussion. It's been so interesting to hear how you're all adapting your brands to this completely changed world, and all that you've learned this week of meetings with Watches and Wonders Geneva. We've run out of time, so we'll have to say goodbye. And as we've been saying all year long, take care and can't wait to tell each other in real life, hopefully soon. Thank you, everybody.